Yeah, this to be direct, there is only experience. So there's no real differentiation between an intellectual understanding and an experiential understanding, because intellectuality is an experience itself. The true question is, as I can perceive often, because people are not clear about what is thought. They're confused about the nature of thought. That's why on my course I start with this, because it's not really clear. The true question is more, what is my relationship with thoughts? What is my relationship with sensation? What is my relationship with perception? And what is the relationship between those three? And the more you start to see this, you will see that intellectual, what you are naming intellectual understanding, often is only a thought, is thinking. But the more you can reduce the importance of thinking, whatever you think is meaningless. you you it's like in this example of Roger, of me, David. I go to bed and I start to sleep, and I'm Roger in Paris. Whatever Roger is thinking is meaningless. It doesn't mean anything. The only true meaning in a thought in Roger's mind is come from David, come from the dreamer. The meaning is the dreamer, and there is no other meaning. So whatever Roger thinks, it's meaningless. If Roger believed that he had to understand the nature of reality, doesn't mean anything, because there is no Roger. Roger is already a thought. So in a way, Roger has to understand that it is not Roger, it is David that is perceiving its own mind through the limited perspective of Roger. And therefore, Roger is already a thought in David. So yeah, there is any question or sharing?
Maybe, David, just to take that a step further, then, if I'm imagining if Dennis is dreaming of Roger in Paris and realizes Roger doesn't exist, it's a thought in Dennis's mind. But then to go back further, if Dennis doesn't exist either, then Dennis can't awaken. It's just life wakes up to itself, and the problem of Dennis and Roger are no more. I'm trying to get back to that place where we're obviously at, but have forgotten.
Yeah, but this is a beautiful step. Dennis will never realize anything. And that's to me, that's a huge freedom. Often suffering goes away with this, because suddenly Dennis is free to do anything. It's okay. Dennis have a miserable life like all humans being, and it's just despairing that it's just in despair because he is going to die, because it believes that it is the body, and that's it. That's it, and he just does what he does, whatever he think is best. But the pressure that we put on our life, on our personal life, can just vanish. You, there is no perfect human life. There is a perfect awareness, but human life cannot be perfect, because it's an expression of a limitation, of a misunderstanding. And that's why the proof is it's on what you see. Everything die here. Everything vanish. Everything disappear.
Oh, but and again, Dennis wants to wake up. Dennis wants freedom. Dennis wants clarity, peace. So Dennis never gets any of that. In fact, it's only when Dennis is maybe absent for a period that any of that can be felt, noticed. If Dennis can't awaken, what wakes up, and where's the desire to wake up come from, and why do we go on these journeys for years to try to wake up but never do?
Because no, the question is pertinent, but it is framed in a confusing way. It's not Dennis that want to wake up. It's the dreamer that believes that it's Dennis, and it believes that it can wake up only through Dennis activities, through Dennis life. It doesn't. You are too close in your dream. When you start to get broader, you will see the full experience of Dennis. It's one bubble of experience. It's one dream. It's very, very small in comparison to eternity and infinity. You see? The 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 longing for freedom, it's powerful and it has to be validated. Yeah, I understand something in me want to be free. But the I that want to be free is the one that is confusing of what he is. And it is this confusion that is trying to be resolved.
But I'm hearing that as if there is something, like you said, a dreamer or an I that is currently identified and confused with the dream of Dennis. And as it is identifies with that story or beliefs, that's
Yeah.
where freedom can be seen or felt. Then Dennis can just get on with his life, whatever way it goes. There's a desire then to ask, so what is there to do? Who does it?
That's that's where freedom enters. When you see more and more that your experience, it's an expression of something. It's not the cause of something. That's one way you can approach it. Yeah. So therefore, you can really let free of control, in the sense that you can really let the personality unfold and the environment unfold, and just that's just uh, there is only reaction as a person. So the individual is doesn't have control because it is only reacting to its environment. Okay. And the impulse of the environment and the reaction of the environment are one event appearing right now. Yeah.
Mm, yeah.
But you speak as if you are in control of of the destiny of Dennis, which is for this discussion is not really helpful thinking that way. Okay, look, as a person, there is how many worries you really have.
Yeah, plenty. Yeah.
No, no. It's maybe two, maybe let's say two. But the first one is I'm gonna die. The fear of death. It can have many forms. It is the fear of death. Every time you are thirsty, you are feeling the fear of death. Every time you are hungry, you are feeling the fear of death. That's one way. Yeah? Everything is about death here.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
we all know the bodies die. No matter how much money you have, how much your diet, how much how beautiful or ugly, or whatever part of the country you live, or whatever politics it's happening around you, there is this deep, deep belief that bodies are born, they are physical, and they die in a world of matter. That's the fear of death. And it has many forms. We hide this fear in many ways. That's why no one speaks about death. That's why we hide the hospitals and people who are old, and we don't see cemetery, and we don't burn people on the beach like in India, because in our culture we don't want to see anything that is the smell of bodies. Like, oh no, no, we everything we go to toilet, it has to smell beautiful. We don't. I don't want to feel the fear of death that is everywhere. If you believe that your life depends on a physical body, you are living on fear because you know that the body is going to die. So you can say one thing, it's this fear of death. And that's kind of everything you do as a person is often based on survival. And that's, the brain and the body is just about survival. It doesn't care about anything. Family, I'm a nice person. Yeah, okay. Well, wait to be hungry and you will see how nice you are. But really, really hungry. Talking about 2, 3 weeks without eating anything. And then you will see how nice
Yeah.
you are.
Yeah.
No, this is stories. This is just the conceptual layer of society that we agree that there is laws. There is no law. There's punishment, but there is no really law. You can do everything you want. And after you are punished or not is another story, but there is no law anywhere. You are really, you know. So this is the worry as a person. And because I'm afraid that I'm going to die, the worry is I want to have the maximum pleasure I can between the window of until my death. I just want to have sex. I want to have all of the desire, that like food and power and whatever. And even spirituality, people are worried I'm going to die before I get enlightenment. But the enlightenment is a realization that there's no death. So the very sense that you feel stressed is this fear appearing in your experience because you are confused on what you are and on time and on many things. But that's one, yeah. So you can really see the worry of the person. It's very simple. It has tremendous anxiety in its effect, but it's very, very small. It's very simple. I'm gonna die. What can I do to avoid? But deep down, I know nothing. But somehow I just say, okay. I just avoid the fact that is unavoidable, and I will check. I will have a work. I will have a wife. I will have a society, friends that will protect me, and weapons or politics or whatever. I will just avoid this fact. So that's why if you explore what you are, often the fear of death disappear, and then the major anxiety of the person disappear.
You mean explore what you are as that silence, that still looking, that sort of ground of being, that objectless object that is before everything.
Yeah, yeah. But realize that this is where you always engage the experience from that perspective. There is no other perspective than this perspective. You understand? If this is my vision, okay? If I do this with my eyes, my vision get very narrow, right? I have a very narrow perspective now. But it is the same perspective, even though it seems very, very narrow, or even right now I'm perceiving my sight from the same perspective as this one or this one. Or if I become blind and or whatever, it's the same perspective.
It's
So
unaffected by all of them.
exactly. You can lose hearing and you're still aware. You can lose sight and you're still aware. You can use smell and taste and you can still aware. You can lose all of sense of sensation, maybe not in the head, maybe even possible, I don't know, and you're still aware. So what is
Yeah,
what you are, you
there's a falseness to the beginning of the journey that it's like we get sucked into a spiritual journey for various different reasons to try and have a better experience, whatever way that looks for different people, whether it's from being ill to healthy, depressed to
Mhm.
enjoying
Mhm.
life. And the reality is that's not what it's going to deliver. Now, people who realize what we're talking about have said, some people afterwards, that things are better, but that's no guarantee. And it wasn't a guarantee for let's say the story of Jesus on the cross. So there's no guarantee that anything around awakening is going to make anything objectively better, and holding out for a better life is just more bullshit, really.
Yeah, but it's like this spiritual confusion come from Denis go to sleep. There is the dreaming of Roger, right? And Denis, believing that is Roger in the dream, start to build the story. Roger is going to meditate, and it has very small time to awaken because So Roger is in a timeline. It's in a the time is counted for Roger, and he has things to do to become Dennis. But the only thing aware in Roger is Dennis already, and the whole experience is Dennis. The wall, the animals, the sky, everything is. This is awareness. This is awareness. So that, yeah. And that's why at some point there is deepening exploration that nothing is hiding awareness. Just like when you dream is not hiding your mind. The dream is not hiding anything. In fact, the dream is the expression of your freedom. You can dream to be in jail, but the experience of being in jail is the expression of your freedom. This is the free will that is explained in the Bible, that people are very confused about what it is. But you don't have the capacity to change what you are. You don't have to, you cannot put yourself on a position to be guilty of anything. You are innocent because that's your nature. Experience cannot, you cannot do anything in your experience to become guilty of anything.
Yeah. And I suppose in truth, I'm not looking for clarity and awareness and an understanding of my true nature. I am and have been looking for a better existence, a better life, a better
Yeah.
outcomes, and even to feel like, well, we let go of all that, but we let go of that sneakily in the hope that when we awaken, that we'll get a better existence. And it's like nearly impossible to let go of that. It's a death in itself.
But that's where it's I, I don't like to be an absolutist, like it's one or the other, just both. You are free to do everything you want to have a better dream. It's perfectly okay. There's no judgment because it's not about the dream. And the more you realize that, the more experience become more happy most of the time because you are not hallucinating anymore. You see that yesterday is not here, tomorrow is not here, and what is happening right now, often for people like us, it's really the best that in humanity for maybe for a lot of time. Anyway, this is not appropriate maybe to say this, but just to say, this is the present that is right here. Often it's fine. It's okay what is right here. The challenge of experience right here is not that hard. But when you start to put it in time, that's where problem arise. I don't have money today. It's not that bad. You know, I'm not hungry. I don't feel pain. It's not that bad. I don't have money, and I have to eat until I have to find a solution for the more 40 years that are left. This become a big problem. And what happen if I'm diseased? And what happen if a woman? And what happen if I have no clothes and have no sex because woman? And that's where you start to be in a completely mess. But right now, I have no money. Who knows tomorrow? Nobody knows. Maybe I'm dead. Maybe I will be a billionaire. Who knows? So there is a relaxation. And often what happens is like this this relaxation, people feel like it, and you become more functional because there is less fear, there's less anxiety, and you become more functional. You are just present to what's happening, and that people enjoy this, and there's more opportunity that arise, or maybe not, you know, but it's just when you release the pressure that you experience has to be in a certain way. Well, there is fear disappear, suffering disappear, you know, and then of course life is become more easy because challenge are not that difficult.
Yeah, definitely. I can
Yeah,
already feel the sort of the warmth and love in this moment, in these
exactly,
sensations here,
exactly,
and not going into future is it's lovely not to do that because that's where the apparent trouble starts.
That's why I talk about the nature of thought. The thing that thought is time, so thought will always put the issue in time. It will always be an issue because if you are feeling miserable, it will say, oh, you will feel miserable forever. So it's a big trouble. Time in the future, right? Which is our past also. And if you are happy, remember the past that you were unhappy, so you will lose it. So you are always losing because thought is putting things on time. When you see that you're on time, past or future, you are miserable. Even if you feel happiness, if you put this happiness on time, you will feel miserable almost instantly. Because 1 year ago I was more happy than now. What does that mean? You're feeling happy now, you're not feeling happy. That's just very simple. Yeah, but how can I keep this happiness, longer? Again, are you happy now or not happy now? If you are feeling anxiety of losing this happiness, this is not happiness, this is anxiety. So you are confused about what you are feeling. Yeah. So yeah. So this is the nature of thought. Thought put everything on time.
Thanks, David. You're always very good at bringing me back to myself.
Yeah. But see that you are never away. That's the real freedom. The real freedom is experience is not hiding myself. Whatever state David is is doesn't mean anything. David is gonna die doesn't mean anything. David has no money doesn't mean that I'm gonna die. David doesn't have a partner or a family, that doesn't mean that I'm alone. It's yeah. Yeah.
Hi, David. I,
Hello,
I have a
Ray.
question.
How
I have a que
how was
I have a question.
your retreat, your home retreat?
Oh, it's still happening right now.
Oh, great.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're a part of it. You all are.
Oh,
Um, so yeah, I'm off work through the weekend, but I have some responsibilities that I have to take care of, but mostly I'm just sitting around, which is great. Um, but I had a question that was related to something that you and Dennis just spoke about, which was that, okay, so let's say that I'll say there's Ray, who's the dreamer, and he's dreaming that he's Roger. Now, in my dream, I'm Roger wanting to be Ray very badly, and I'm suffering because I'm trying to get there, right? Well, here's the question. It's like, does Ray even want to wake up? Because I guess maybe just in my concept of it, like as this choiceless, formless awareness, like the concept of waking up doesn't even make any sense, right? Because it's just an awareness of what, like it doesn't care if it's waking up or not. But
Exactly. Yeah.
well, but if Ray is having a very unpleasant dream as Roger, and Roger's just having a terrible time, he's
Yeah.
hungry and sad, it's like, well, that's a dream that Ray kind of wants to wake up from. And that's confusing to me because I feel like as Ray, I really shouldn't want anything. I'm just perceiving whatever's happening. Like it doesn't make a big difference. But at the same time, I can understand why, like, if the dream is unpleasant, something wants to wake up. Like that's why they're suffering. But if
Mhm.
the only thing that's suffering is Roger in the dream, it's just a very confusing dynamic for me because it's like, I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on
Yeah.
that situation?
Yeah. Yeah. I understand completely what you are sharing, and this is where useful beliefs or useful stories enter, because you understand the core of the teaching, right? Like
Mhm.
the dreamer, right, or reality or God or awareness is not even aware that there is things happening within it. It's like the sea is not aware of the wave because it is seeing. It doesn't feel separation, right? So yeah, it doesn't feel the suffering. So that's why if you want a pure, direct, non-dual approach, you will say there's nothing to do, right? But often the struggle is doesn't it's too big, right? So to answer to this struggle, the the framework that I can give you right now is you can approach this with understanding of a split mind. You know, the awareness has the capacity to to kind of create split to split itself into different parts. And this is experience. This is awareness that is differentiated. It creates differentiation within itself, but there's no separation. Just like the sea, there is current, there is wave, there is high tide, low, there is all of this mess, ice, and all this. But it is only water, right? So, but within itself, it has the capacity to create differentiation, but it doesn't change the essence of it. Yeah, yeah, it's clear. Can you feel just
Yeah,
like it? Tell me.
well, what I would say is, you know, to me, this is similar to what you're saying, but just so
Yeah,
I want
yeah,
to get your response to this. Like, there's differentiation without separation, but
exactly.
so I always thought it was the mind that was doing that, though. So, for instance, the example that I think of is like the senses, right? So you have taste. We say we have taste, touch, sight, smell. But those differentiations are created by the mind almost. Like we put that into categories of like, well, this is one kind of sense, this is another kind of sense, and that's another kind of sense. But in reality,
Yeah.
it's just experience.
Yeah.
And so when we
Exactly.
say that there is differentiation without separation, it's the mind that's doing mind or thought that's doing that, or is it something? Am I thinking about this the wrong way? Maybe.
Yeah. So again, I will speak in a way to be useful, not to be accurate. Okay, because
Okay.
some
Yeah.
people are very purist, and after I've got some confusion, and I don't want to argue. But this is very. I think the purpose of this meeting is to be useful. Who
I
cares if it's
agree. Yeah.
precise? It's to be useful.
Yeah.
You need something. Well, here it is. Try it.
Yeah.
The way you can perceive is like there is the mind of God. Okay, God's mind, which is pure awareness, pure consciousness, is indifferentiating thing that doesn't know that is suffering, is right, there is anything. It's just minding. Just is there's no
Mhm.
separation, right? So there is God's mind. In God's mind, there is a dream, right? And this is the dream. And there is the God, because God's mind is infinite and illimited and all powerful, and everything, meaningful and everything. It can divide itself to infinity. It can create an infinity bubble of experience. That is your experience, my experience, infinite dreams. Yeah?
Mhm.
And the coherence, like I speak and you are listening something, right? If I move an object, you are perceiving the object. If we look at the sky and we see the moon in both sides of the earth, you will see the same moon, right? Thought will tell you, no, but this is because there is a material physical world out there and you live inside a body. But this approach is no. The currents that you are having in your bubble of experience that only you know and I don't know, and what I'm experiencing, the fact that we are seemingly experiencing the same moon is not because there is a moon out there. It's because God's mind is holding the understanding in both our bubble of experience. If we are three here and we look at the sky and Dennis is eating mushroom and he doesn't see a moon, he see an elephant, that doesn't mean that the moon has disappeared. It simply means that the something has happened in its own relationship with God's mind, and it has shifted his perception of our interconnection through the God's mind, right?
Right.
So from that perspective, it's the same like when I say David go to sleep. When I say David go to sleep, it's like God is going to sleep, right? And he's dreaming to be Roger in Paris. So yeah, so far so good.
Yeah. So wait, who's dreaming right now about Roger in Paris? God,
Okay,
or well,
okay.
God is
Sorry,
doing
I
all
create
the
confusion.
dreaming.
No,
Yeah.
God is going to sleep, and this is his dream is a Big Bang. This is a permanent Big
Mhm.
Bang. This is an infinity of bubble of experience, insect and
Mhm.
angels and whatever you and everything. It's God, right? All
Mhm.
dimension of all of dimensions, or whatever. Everything is God, right? So he got to sleep and he believed he's Roger in Paris. And then he struggled with his life. He's going to die because his wife, because his money, because desire, because this, because judgment, human experience. Okay, all of this to arrive to this point. Sorry, but to be clear.
Yeah.
Now the understanding is the split mind. The only awareness in Roger's mind is God's awareness. There is no other awareness that is aware, only God's mind. But there is a part of this mind, of God's mind, that want to be Roger, that is attached to the identity, to the narration, to the dream, to the drama, to the suffering, to the pleasure, to the pleasure to fall in love, to the misery, to to be single, to have kids, and the joy of feeling the pain of the death. Now I'm a victim of my body and cancer and war and joy, and just it loves it, right? So this is the split mind. There is a mind that want to go back to God fully, and another who want to keep dreaming. And that's the struggle. It's not that there is really something that we have to overcome. It's only there is this attraction for the identification with a person. Like God is falling a dream, is dreaming, and a part of him is just loving it. It's just loving the dream. He's loving the hate, he's loving the war, he's loving, yeah, this is the ego. This is the part that is just attached to that. So in a way, we feel this struggle, right? That, oh, I'm struggling. But yeah, so this is the understanding of a split. My mind is split. The God of mind is split in two. There's one who wants to go, who is longing for peace, and the only peace there is the peace of God, because the dream is always shifting, moving, so there is no peace there. And another part of me, well, I have my son, right? And I love my son personally. So if I am God, I have no son, but I love the experience of my son. So therefore, this part of I like this story. I'm attached to this story. And if you go even deeper, that's where so far so good. The process of healing is at some point we forgot that even God exists, and we perceive everything that there is Roger separated from its environment, and it just when he died goes nowhere. And that's where there is this huge confusion, this huge layer of confusion. So in a way, we are doing this to ourselves, but not in a simple way. Not in the Roger is not imposing itself suffering, but somehow God is confused, and it identify as an object in its God's mind, and then it believes that it has to do something to go back, and that's the confusion. And the more you understand, oh no, Roger has nothing to do. Roger is not guilty, he's innocent, because there is only awareness, right? And it's really a message of love, even because there is no death. So you really don't have to take care of anything. God, Roger feel that it has to save Paris, but Paris is already made up by by God itself. And whatever dies doesn't disappear; it just go back to infinity. So we are really off the hook. It's fine. It's fine. But does it make sense? Is it supportive to kind of make sense to this struggle of I want to go back, but at the same time I'm struggling with my specific experience? Is it helpful?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense to me. I have two questions though about that, which I'm just trying to keep them straight. Okay, so one is that, I mean, part of the reason why I asked is because I do feel like the metaphor of the dreamer does kind of fit my experience, where there are times where I understand, sort of awareness like feels more like what I am, something like that, but it's still that there is a desire to awaken. Like so even though I'm in touch a little bit with the identity of the dreamer, it, there's still a feeling of wanting to wake up. But then but there's a cognitive dissonance there, because God doesn't want to wake. God doesn't really understand waking up. God is already God, so he's just like, I don't have any, like, I have no, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so any kind of desire whatsoever, including the desire of the dreamer to awaken, is identification, correct? Like, that is, if there is a desire for anything to be different than what it is, that's identification. Is that accurate? That's my first question.
Can you repeat it? Just to be.
Sorry, it's difficult. So my experience is that sometimes I understand that I am the dreamer, I'm not Roger, you know?
Mhm.
But even as but there's a little bit of going back and forth, right? Like, it doesn't necessarily feel entirely clean. So sometimes as somebody understanding that I'm the dreamer having an unpleasant dream as Roger, I want to the dreamer still want to wake up from that dream. Like, I know I'm
Mhm.
dreaming as Roger, and I'm like, this is a terrible dream. I want to get out of here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. But
Great.
just the fact that there's a desire to awaken from the dream is identification. Because if it was really a true understanding of, you know, of being the God mind, there's really no desire at all. There's no desire to be anything other than
Mhm.
what is.
Yeah, okay, I get it now. I will not approach it that way, because the longing to go back to God, to me, is
Mhm.
valid. It's it's a valid longing, because we will never be satisfied until everything vanish. Like, there is only God, nothing else.
Mhm.
So, you know,
Mhm. I
but
see.
so, because the way you speak, it seems that you are judging the fact that you want something else, which I think it's mm,
Yeah, I mean, that's true. Well, it's just it feels kind of complicated for me to, I mean, to be, it feels strange to be in the situation where I'm aware that I'm having a dream and it's a bad dream. That's not actually, happening to me as the dreamer, but still wanting to
yeah, yeah.
wake up from that dream, like, I want Roger to wake up so that he can stop suffering. But it just feels odd. You- you- hmm.
That's why when I speak at the beginning was, as long as there is an experience, there will be this longing to go back,
Mhm.
because any experience is already a differentiation. It's already
I
implying there
see.
is two. Even if you are
Yeah.
an angel in the seventh dimension, you are still making a gap between infinity and angelic experience, right?
Yeah.
So the way I would approach it, and as I am approaching it, is like, not that you understand that yeah, I am awareness, right? I'm the dreamer, and I don't like this dream. When you realize that, you can start to explore and see what the mechanism of it, not
Mhm.
not in an intellectual way only, but perceive it. Right now I'm at peace, and suddenly there is, I thought about tomorrow and I feel miserable. Right now I'm at peace and I feel pain in my heart, and suddenly I'm anxiety, I'm going to die, I'm going to the doctor. Oh, what has happened? Right? And often that's where you see this this game of belief, right? This attachment that we have of our story.
Right.
And it's not about judgment. That's why I think the place that you can explore is this place of from the dreamer perspective. Like, I'm a dreamer, I don't like this experience right now. And be in that place and try to remove the meaning, to remove the value from the story. And you will see the more you do this, the more you will be unaffected by the event, because you will withdraw the meaning of the event.
Right.
Do you perceive that anything that has, can you perceive right now that whatever you perceive has no meaning in itself?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I'm getting at, is
Yeah.
that, you know, so I used to think I was Roger and I was just, you know, life was terrible, everything was terrible. Now I understand, you know, I understand that I'm the dreamer and I'm dreaming Roger, and like, so I'm less affected by it, but Roger's still suffering. So I, as the dreamer, am having, you know, it doesn't feel good. This is the dream I want to wake up from. But then one step behind that is just like, okay, well, how am I even perceiving that I don't like the dream or the suffering or any of it, right? And so it's, as long as there's any story at all, as long as there's any opinion, uh, you know, aversion, whatever, as long as there's anything like a story, it's not, you know, it's not the God mind, it's still identification with something. So until we get all the way back to the point where it's just like nothingness, just simply awareness of whatever's happening. I don't know.
Yeah, but it's not one or the other.
Right. I mean, they're all inside of something, you know? They're all inside of
Exactly.
the God mind, as you say. But until we have the experience of the God mind, which I think I think we're saying that's possible, like at times, correct? Possibly. I don't know. Or it's something that we're in touch with all the time. It manifests differently. And I feel like we, at least me personally, I often sort of lose the experience of that in the story. But I we've talked about this as well, where it's like you can never actually lose touch with it because it's the backdrop for all experience. But I would say that there are times when it's more acknowledged and there's times when it's less acknowledged, when it's noticed more and when it's not noticed as much. And that's
Yeah, but you see, if if we keep with this analogy,
mm,
your experience and your challenges as they are appearing are the teaching of God to support you to remember who you are. So your experience is taking you back home to remember who you are. And you speak in a way that apparently you challenge a kind of an impediment that's true, that is something that to get rid of. But in fact, just like I remember one time I had a very strong period that I was like, I want to be happy. Like I was just like you say, I feel terrible and I don't see any solution
mm,
here. Like really, there is just no way out of this mess. Nothing works or not for long, and it's just so messy. And I want to be happy. I'm happy, and I got this. Okay, show me how to be happy. Really, show me how to be happy. Really, and I start to feel miserable, and that's where I really understand. Look, happiness is your nature because happiness is God. So whenever you feel happy or you feel loved, the love that you feel for a person is the love of God, because there's only one, the emotion all only come from the dreamer, from what has a meaning. Everything comes from only this, right? But then I see, if you want to be happy, you have to perceive what you the blocks that you have built on you in your own experience to separate yourself from it. Like if a children is having nightmares, like he believes that there is a monster below the bed, right? And you tell him, I want to be safe and everything. You say, I will be with you. But the only way you can really feel safe if you have the strength to hold your fear and to have the courage to look under the bed, look at the monster, look at it. No, I don't want it. It is a monster. Look under the bed. No, I don't want. I don't know. If you want to feel safe and sleep quietly and be happy, look under the bed. No, I don't want to look at, because the child is convinced that there is a monster, doesn't want to look at it. It doesn't want to look at it. And and the support you are giving him, you are really saying, look at the heart of your fear. Look under the bed, and you will see there is nothing there to fear. And that's kind of what is happening here. I'm afraid of having a disease. I'm afraid of being alone. I'm afraid of having pneumonia. I'm afraid. Yeah, okay. Look at it. You will see that there is nothing to be afraid of. That's the process. That's the process. This is the process of awakening, and we are all in it, even if you're not if you're aware of it or not. This is God awakening to itself, and we are all in it, and there is different expression that are amazing in the past, probably today, but that doesn't really matter because we are all in this together. There is one dreamer and there is an infinity of dream, but ultimately there is only I awaken, right? So you can really perceive the challenge that Roger is having. Yeah. Is the dreamer that is showing its own challenge to itself. And that's why the more you are peaceful, the more experience become happy, because Roger, this universe, it's a projection of something. It's not a cause, right? It's an effect.
Can I say something to that? Just for Ray? Maybe share something quickly. If you didn't want to immediately follow up on that, I don't know. Otherwise, I can wait.
No, please do. I'm happy to hear whatever you have to say. Yeah.
Yeah, because okay, obviously I don't know how you came to ask this question before, but it reminded me of, like, say, questions I also had. So at some point I realized that what was more helpful to me was then stop asking this question, why is this experience happening? And instead question, what is my problem with this experience happening? Or what in me is making me not want to have this experience or something, it's because everything is pointing, yeah, like you also said, and like David said, everything is basically can be a pointer to the reality or whatever you want to call it, life, consciousness. So yeah, instead of kind of asking why is that here, which is kind of pushing it away or pointing away from the source, I went basically the other way, if that makes sense, like trying to ask, why do I have the problem with what's here? And a way to maybe put this into an analogy, because we talked about the dream. I don't know if you ever had a lucid dream, like a dream where you are awake. We know you're dreaming, kind of. I mean, you're not awake, you're aware that you're dreaming. In that dream, the dream is happening, but you are aware that's happening, or maybe you can also influence it. And you're still not fully awake in a sense. So yeah, even if that dream is bad, you can decide to kind of enjoy that dream. That makes sense, like to observe it, because that is what's currently happening until you wake up in some sense. And yeah, so somehow this lucid dream is in some sense closer to my let's say daily experience, kind of instead of having these two extremes, right, where you have like the dreamer, like far away, kind of feeling far away from the dream person like Roger. So in some sense, if I see it more like a lucid dream, it's kind of uniting these two in some sense. I don't know if this is helpful, but that's how then that analogy came to my mind when we were talking about the dream.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that a lot. Thank you for that. And that's kind of what I was getting at, right? You know, I think we're talking about, okay, there's the God mind and then there's Roger. I don't know. I feel like now I'm somewhere in between the two, where it's like, okay, well, you know, I used to think I was Roger just having a terrible time, and like now I'm like, oh well, I'm the dreamer is waking up. He understands that he's in a dream, but he still has like these opinions about what's going on, and like behind that, I guess, is the God mind. So that's kind of, you know, it's a little bit of a spectrum between Roger and the God mind, and I'm
Yeah.
somewhere in the middle as because I think there's probably, as you're saying, like degrees of lucid dreaming, right? There's the ability to be in the dream and know that you're dreaming, but like, and then there's the ability to know that you're in the dream and like changing things or being able to affect the dream. And then there's probably stages closer to the God mind where you just feel more awake and you're less bothered by the dream or even less aware of the dream. I don't know if any of that is what you meant, but
Yeah, definitely. And then also like being aware that this whole spectrum is actually God's mind, right? So like even if you're on
correct,
the
yeah,
opposite side, it is still that. So there's no way to be out of it in some sense.
right.
Yeah.
It's all a manifestation of the God mind, which is the first. It's just the most basic thing, I guess, is kind of like my rudimentary understanding of it so far.
Yeah,
So yeah.
definitely. It also just helped me like in the beginning, I think, to not like fully go on this non-dual perspective and just uh use this thought, which I don't know, like most people I guess know from religions like Christianity or so, that this what's happening is currently meant for me to happen in some sense, you know, like this experience I'm having is like an effect of something, yeah, something manifesting, like you said. And yeah, just in that way, it somehow was easier to accept it while at the same time being aware that, yeah, there's no like, I'm part of that creation, so there's no like differentiation in that sense. But yeah, just to accept this, this is like what's meant to be, made it somehow easier for me that way.
Mhm. Yeah, no, that resonates. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jane. It's very beautiful. And that's why I also say it's not one or the other. And this is when Jane said when what you are talking, this is the spectrum. There is God is infinity, and the seemingly opposite matter, right? What is life, right? Human life. And we seem to be on a spectrum. But this is, if you believe that they're in conflict, that's where you are suffering. But when you start to understand what you are starting to feel, oh no, everything is an expression of God. Well, you will feel less. The dream will be less troubling, even if it can be challenging. And that's why it is this image. It's very useful because there is a movie that I don't recommend, but the symbol is very good. It's Cell. You know, cell like a prison cell. It's a guy who enter into the mind of someone else to waking him up, to wake him up because he's in a coma. I don't remember, but the thing is, he entered into the dream of a person to wake this person up. So, but when he enters the dream, well, this person is having a nightmare. So the whole movie it's a nightmare, but you know that it's just a dream, right? So I think it's beautiful because right now you are the light of God right now. Right? The role that we have is to shine this abstract light of God into our dream. That's what we call love. To not remember, remember what you are. Remember the meaning of everything is God. Remember that. Remember that you never die. Remember that no one that you loved has never died in the past. Remember that no one can hurt you. Remember that. Remember that if you go to the past and to judge people and you have resentment, you are in confusion. This has never happened. Remember what you are. Remember what everyone is. You are untouchable. And this is being the light in the world, being a light in the dream. You represent the dreamer in the nightmare and hold this light as bright as you can, and that's our only purpose. And there is a lot of love in that. But it's impersonal, so sometimes it's misunderstood. It's not really understood properly, but it's loving someone is to see this person for what it is, not for what he's doing, for what it has done, or for what this person can give to you, or give to the world, or save the world. No, for what is this entity is.
Was that movie? Is that a Jennifer Lopez movie?
Yes,
that...
yes.
I'm aware of it.
Looked it up on Prime. It's the one 2000, but it's about a torture chamber. I mean, I would never be able to watch this. Something about
yeah.
I watched it. It was frightening.
Yeah, it's a nightmare. It's But it was more, but yeah.
Oh, I was going to say, so that's interesting because that's sort of, in this spectrum of what's happening. And on the one end you have the God mind, and on the other end you have Roger. I mean, I think I'm closer right now, at least, to the Roger end of the spectrum, where it feels like, I'm aware that it's a dream some of the time. In general, I would say it's like, okay, I'm aware that I'm in the dream, but I don't feel like I'm like Jennifer Lopez in The Cell, where it's like, it's a bit scary, like I don't feel like it's still a bit scary. Like I still am like, oh, I want to wake up because I don't like this dream very much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I don't know. It's interesting to kind of think about it that way, in that like that's okay. Like that's a part of the spectrum, and it's not, I don't know, it's not that I've like messed something up or something, because on some level I know that it's not really possible to do that. But
stay with that. Stay really with that. You did not mess up, It's not your fault.
Yeah.
It's fine. You don't have to resolve the dream. It's not up to you. This is not what is asked for you.
Yeah. Right. So I have another question that's not entirely related, and it's pretty conceptual. Is it okay if I okay, and so you were talking about the role of suffering, kind of like suffering is basically like, and fear is basically pointing towards the God mind, where, say as Roger, would just be like, oh, I don't want to get sick. I don't want to get pneumonia because that means I'm going to die. And I'm like very fearful of being sick or feeling uncomfortable or having pain. But then theoretically, as Roger's put in this position, he's having pain, he's feeling uncomfortable, but he can recognize that he is still capable of having the experience of recognizing his identity as the one who's experiencing the pain, who's experiencing the discomfort. And in that recognition, is that the pointing that's leading him closer to his to the God mind or his true self. Is that sort of the direction of the pointing, or is that something that I'm maybe misinterpreting?
Yeah, but you know, if you want to go really all the way, I mean, pain is not pain. You feel pain
Right.
only because you identify with the body. If you don't identify with the body, by hiding. If you don't identify with the body, you can't feel pain.
Well, it'd be like the physical sensation that we typically call pain, without the emotional attachment component to it. Is that
No, yeah. No, I mean,
okay? Mhm.
when you identify with the finite mind, you suffer. And when you identify with sensation, you feel pain.
Right.
Which
Okay.
pleasure and pain is the same identification.
Yeah. Well, okay.
And
So what I mean,
they had an experiment about this. So it's theoretically, of course, metaphysically, it's like this, but there is experiment that show this. Do you know the split arm experiment?
like where they cut the brain in half, the split brain ones, or are you
No,
talking about the false hand
they
with like the nail through it?
exactly.
Or, yeah.
They take the arm, right, and they hide your arm with something, so you don't see your hand. And they put a plastic hand here. So now here there is a plastic hand right here, right? That is here. And but if they touch both, and at some point the brain will associate that this plastic arm is my real arm. So it will create an identification. So awareness that this is my arm, the plastic arm. And then when they touch it, when they do things, you will start to feel what you are perceiving as a sensation, even pain. And they can put a needle in this hand, and you will have no reaction, no pain, nothing. That's a light demonstration that it is the identification with something that creates the pain. The physical pain, even.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay, so to put it a slightly different way, I guess, so Roger's concerned about being in this bad situation, feeling pain and getting sick, whatever. Is the pointing that, all right, if Roger ends up in this situation that's very painful and unpleasant, and he's able to endure it without suffering, that is kind of the lesson, that's kind of the pointing that is occurring. That's the God mind trying to wake Roger up. I don't know. Okay, maybe I'm too far afield here,
No.
but
Roger is not aware. Only God is aware.
I see.
Roger doesn't learn anything. Roger is the confusion. There is no Roger. So the lesson of this experience is remember who you are. And the more you suffer, the more it's an invitation to recognize what you are.
Everything's waking us.
Yeah.
But is God suffering?
No.
I was going to say, I hope so.
Are we just making this not another like fairy tale or like some sort of refined, upgraded sort of version of fairy? Something like that. No, seriously, like I listened to this and it's really nice, right? You want to believe it, but there has to be some sort of suspension of something or some kind of where you settle for something that you don't really know. Like we can't know anything. I don't know.
Yeah, that's why I started to say it's about using our belief in a way that are useful to us until they stop to be useful. So you, of course, can say, I can know anything, and there is no one here. Okay, but so then what do you even speak? What do you do anything? And you can say, yeah, but there's no one doing anything. So at some point, I don't feel it's not very useful. So you are right. We don't know anything. But you can use what is happening to in a way that is meaningful and practical for where you are. But I think this actuality, you know this actuality directly, and you know that you are aware and present. So I think that there is two facts that you can not deny in any way, and if you deny them, it's just insanity, which is I am present and aware. And the second one is there is experiencing. And there are two facts. After I agree, you don't know what is experience, what is the meaning of the word. I'm not talking about conceptual definition. I'm saying I feel that I am, right? There is presence and there is some kind of experiencing.
Also, we can't know that it goes on for infinity. We don't know that it continues after death because we've never experienced awareness without there being a body and fact, right? So how could we make that claim that it continues, that we know that this is forever, that's, you know, that we continue on?
Well, because it's something that you can experience directly. And you say we don't experience an absence of the body, but it's not true. A lot of, I mean, your question arises from the belief that there is a solid body in a physical world, but the only solidity you are feeling as a body is sensations. And sensations are not solid. Sensations are not solidity. They are not an evidence of solidity whatsoever. You can touch, so sometimes people touch something and say, yeah, but this is true, you know, that there is object out there. But you can touch something. If I touch my famous bottle, if I touch the bottle, that's a sensation. If I don't touch anything, that's a sensation. Now I'm feeling a sensation. What is the difference? The difference is conceptual, but it's not in actuality. In actuality, there is only sensing. And sensing is an experience that happens in your field of being, in your presence.
Yeah, exactly.
So
but we have never had the experience, we have never had awareness without experience. That has never been. So without sensation, whatever you want to call it, there's never been just pure awareness. And so what are people talking about? We never.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. But pure awareness, it's yeah, you're right, doesn't mean anything. Just like God doesn't mean anything. But it is useful. The point of those labels is to say, it is true that reality never shows itself naked. That's it, that if you are having an experience, it is because, right, like pure awareness is modulating within itself, creating this shining force that is experience, right? Just like when you dream, there is whatever the mind or whatever, what is the mind? I don't know, but there is an experience, an actuality. And the way you can think about it, it's in terms of layers, which is, I think it's a very powerful way of thinking. This comes more from the Advaita, and it's very beautiful. You say like there is the dreamless state, right? And there's nothing. Dreamless. There's no experience. It's pure awareness. You don't remember it. There's nothing to remember. There's just, and then there is the layer of thought that come up, which is dreaming. You do have dreaming, and then there is the layer of perception and sensation, the sense perception, which is the waking state. And then when sense perception disappears, is the dreaming state, and when the thought disappears, it's pure awareness. And so it's not really that you are moving, it's just that there is different vibration within that create different level of intensity in experience. But intensity doesn't mean things outside of me. It's just very intense.
David, pure awareness can know itself while asleep and not dreaming, right? That's been, I don't want to call it an experience, but I've been aware or pure experience, pure knowledge, or whatever you want to call it, while asleep with no body. There's just a beingness that's known while asleep.
Okay.
Something
I mean,
knew it. Something knew it. Hello? Something knew it. There wasn't nothing. It was never, ever nothing. We never experienced that.
No, you can't experience nothing.
but
What should nothing even be?
yeah, but it's. I'm not saying about. You know, it's not about arriving at some conclusion to be right. Everyone experience is very unique, and it will express itself in a very unique way. So there is nothing in the sense that pure awareness is not a thing, is not an object. It is everything, because everything arises from it, because everything is that. So awareness is nothing and everything. So if I say nothing, you will say, yeah, but there is everything. And if I say there is everything, you say, yeah, but there is nothing to find. So that's the paradoxical nature of what is here. We are clearly having an experience, but when you investigate this experience, you find nothing. So it's not one or the other. This is here. And what is that? And this question is not answerable with word, because this is it. I feel like a person, I feel like pure awareness, I feel like this, that. This is it, whatever shape or form it has.
Yeah, I think this nothingness is just a, let's say, problem of terminology. Like Sarah said, there's something that is aware of this nothingness. So one could say there is no nothingness in that sense. I think this confusion, I mean, I call it confusion. Like I said, everybody has their own experience, but it has definitely confused me. And I think where it came for me is from making the separation between everything that I can perceive. Basically, if I remove everything, like I'm not what I see, I'm not what I hear, I'm not my body because I just see it and have sensations and so on. And in some sense, there's nothing of these things left, and that is what I could call nothing. But also, as Ray before said, basically all these perceptions, we conceptualize them into, yeah, that is hearing, that is feeling. So if I want, I could make up like a seventh sense. If I call the sixth thoughts, then a seventh sense is like the sense of just presence or something like that, and that is what I then perceive if I want to avoid emptiness or something like that. I think that's why, I don't know if this makes sense to you, but this is basically why I feel this talking about emptiness is just some terminological problem, not problem, but yeah, why one can talk, let's say, or discuss it without coming to a same conclusion.
Yeah, presence always made a lot more sense to me. It's just that is always here. And you're talking about that you can't actually find, when you go to the nth degree of something, you just don't find anything. So maybe that's what they're referring to, but you don't actually find anything. So yeah, it's it's kind of a, who knows.
Can I ask two things about what you said before? You said that God is longing to come back to itself. So is there such a thing as God has a longing for itself to come back to itself? Or is every longing of the character, of the dream character? Or is any perception, like, are all sensations of God feeling itself? And is the longing to come back to God a longing of God itself? And the second question is this a new thing to aspire to if I don't identify with the body? then I will feel no pain. Is this something I can experience in my lifetime? People could put nails on me and I will not feel it. Is this my new aspiration now? Is this my goal for this week? Like on my to-do list?
Great question. I forgot the first one. Which one it's, can you remember the first
It's
one?
about the longing and who is longing. Is it God longing? Like Olpert, you were saying that the dream character doesn't exist and it doesn't perceive or feel anything. And also that's on a more mundane level, but on a larger level, you had said it's God longing to come back to it himself. And so it's a valid longing, or it does exist, or it's God himself longing to come back. So it's God perceiving that longing or feeling that longing for awakening. In other words, you said the character never awakens, and yet if there's a third question, if the character never awakens, then why does Tammy feel more relaxed when we discuss these things? In other words, we are talking about the character having a different life once realization is happening, but if realization doesn't happen to the character, then why is that so?
Because Tammy is not hearing those words, only awareness is hearing them. So awareness is saying, wait a moment, Tammy is not really what I am, Tammy is not this, Tammy is not that. So suddenly awareness start to the way I say it, start to withdraw the meaning. Because if I'm not Tammy, the worry I have about the tomorrow of Tammy is not that bad, it's not that terrible, because that's not really what I am. And if there is no time, suddenly tomorrow is not start to disappear. So I feel less anxiety.
So
Right.
God gets confused and then longs to wake up and then feels more relaxed?
In a way, yes. But when I say God, that's where it's difficult to speak without becoming too much metaphysical and too much. So I was really specific. I was trying to explain this idea of a split mind, right? That God, in a way, is never is God is this idea that there is no separation anywhere. It's this idea of this is a one whole divided experience, and this is the name of God, right? This idea of the wholeness of everything that can be, that everything is one, and this is God. This is the idea, right? This when I say God, I have this this expansion that there is nothing is born, nothing die. Existence itself is it's simply an expression of this, but there's no separation of any kind. So from that perspective, if you want to be very precise with the word, no, God doesn't know anything about existence, about consciousness, about awareness, about object, about anything. God is just being what it is constantly. It doesn't feel anything. That's why as I introduced this idea of the split mind, but there is a part of it which kind of believe that it is an object, and this that is here, this experience. And
so if sorry.
No, go ahead.
So if I stop believing that I'm this person, then I will experience no pain.
Okay, this is, but do you feel more clarity about this sense of this longing?
I'm still not clear who's feeling the longing. I'm still not clear on who is longing to come back to what. In other words, is it the character or is it the awareness? And is awareness synonymous to the word God for you, or is that something else?
Awareness is it's already a contraction. It's already making some kind of differentiation with the whole, right? So awareness is a part of God dreaming, and Tammy is a thought in that awareness. So that's why I validate the longing, because it is awareness that is tired of the drama of Tammy, and it wants something else. And I think it's important to validate, to say, yeah, I understand. If you know, if you believe that you are a cat, but you are human, your life will be tremendously difficult because you are not a cat. So living as a cat will be very hard, because that's not what you are. If you start to live as what you are, it will be more easy, more relaxed, and more natural. So the more you align your identification with what you really are, the more easy experience start to be, because you
So,
align with what is actually here, which is awareness.
so awareness starts to withdraw identification from the body.
Yeah, I would frame it just a bit different. I will frame, yes, we start to withdraw identification with thoughts, sensation, and perception, with the thinker, the perceiver, and the sensor.
And then the thing about pain, though, so in that description, it seems like awareness is still aware of thoughts, feelings, and sensations, which are often suffering, which are often uncomfortable. But then you were talking before about if we don't identify with the body, we don't even feel when a pin goes through it. So is that a state that's possible to achieve? If I withdraw identification from this Tammy thing, who's now apparently speaking here, will I not have sensation anymore with what happens to the apparent body?
Yeah, so the suffering come from identification with the mind, and yeah, and pain come from identification with the body. So to get rid of suffering, it's very easy. It's simple. It's very simple. Easy, I don't know, but simple. Yeah, but now about pain, because I feel pain, I don't want to say yes or no, because that's not my direct experience. Okay, so I don't want to say yes or no. But I say this because Ray specifically asked me a question about that theoretically and everything. So I say, yeah, theoretically, that's my belief, but that's not my experience. So I would not say try to do this, because, you know.
Meaning you do feel pain still.
Yeah, but I don't think that it is a goal to reach. And that's not my personal intention. This is not my personal intention.
Really? It's like the only goal to reach. If we have no pain, we have no fear. Like everyone speaks about fear of death. For me, it's fear of pain. In other words, pain is what's uncomfortable. Otherwise, life is fine. It's just that there's so much pain. Physical or emotional or thought or mental. In other words.
Well, I don't feel a lot of mental pain. I sometimes I feel that I feel some kind of discomfort, but not that much. And perception also often is not that discomfort. And with pain, sometimes it happens, but now what happened more and more is pain is emotional, is very neutral. Sensation are very intense. Sensation can be very intense, but there is no psychological attachment to it. There's no movement in thought. Less and less. Yeah. Now, about specifically get rid of pain to get rid of the fear, I don't perceive this that way. I'm more perceiving that way that pain happen, but I feel less and less the apprehension of the pain. I've less this expectation of avoiding pain and pain in the future. Pain is here or pain is not present, but there's no need to think about pain whatsoever. And when you start to withdraw the fear of death, which disappear, there can be a huge amount of pain, but often the mind associates the pain with the death of the body, therefore, for the death of what, yeah, and fear of death arise. but the less fear of death disappear, a huge amount of pain doesn't mean death, just mean a huge amount of pain. So the attachment of the mind and the story about the sensation, about the intensity of the sensation disappear. So I think it's better to approach it that way than to say, if I withdraw the pain, all of this movement of psychology disappear. I think it's better to say, wait, you can relax completely the mind, and the pain can still come, and that's fine. And when you are there, well, then if you still have the impulse, you can work on trying to eliminate pain entirely.
So you're saying that
Which,
there's no thoughts that are disturbing about it, and there's no emotions that are disturbing. But is there like a contraction in fear? Is there like a fear of the pain or an existential fear? Is there a, like for me, there's a very visceral experience all the time of contraction in the body. And is that a result of just being alive, or is that a result of identification? Is that possible to be released, that kind of underlying anxiety or tension or contraction in the body? Is that something that disappears when we don't identify anymore?
yeah, well, that's where we it's very interesting question. It is very personal, so you have to be very sensitive. That's why I speak a lot about sensitivity, because sensation are neutral. Even emotion are neutral in a way. So this fear of this existential fear disappear. It can disappear. And then I think this tension inside the body, well, I don't know really what you're talking about, because when we say the body, what we often are speaking about is sensation, right? Some kind of sensation present. So the question is, can all sensation disappear completely? That's the same question. But if all sensation disappear, all possibility of pain disappear also. And the sense of having a physical body is a contraction itself. So as long as there is a sensation of having a body, whatever, even if it feels very subtle, is a contraction already. Everything experience is a contraction itself. Everything, for something to appear, infinity has to contract in a way. This must have a contraction. So the awakening process is the relaxation of everything. Just like experience is like an iceberg, and awakening is the melting of it. Yeah. And this is experience happening and disappearing.
Wait, but you said as long as there's anything in appearance, as long as there's a body, there's going to be contraction. But you meant identification with the body, or the fact that there's a body here?
But there is no body here. That's why we have to be clear about what you are, from which understanding you are speaking to, because people often we don't realize how deep goes the materialism on the belief in our way of thinking and talking. We just don't realize. We say the body, like the body, no body, the pain, no pain. There is no physical body in a physical world. There is sensation, perception, and thought that are overlapping and give us a sense of physical reality. But the physical reality of the world doesn't mean that there is solidity there. Just like when you dream, it's a mix-up of mental image and thought and movement that give you a similar impression of deepness and movement and people and separation, right? Because I am here, Roger, in my dream, and there is people out there, and I'm separated from them. But this is an illusion. There is no body in your dream. So what do you mean by the body for you? What is your understanding?
So you're saying that I'm looking and I see an arm and a leg, and then I feel contraction sensations, and then there's thoughts, and I put it together. It's just a belief that there's a body. I mean, it appears to me to be a
Exactly.
body, but
Exactly.
so you're
Yeah,
saying
yeah.
it's just a
This
conclusion, but it's not true.
it's a hearsay. It's hearsay, and it's a conditionment, from this material belief, materialistic understanding of experience and reality. And that's why it takes time. That's why there are different kind of layers. That's why in what I'm proposing, the vision of the course, I'm often talking of layers. And one layer is really understanding that when I look at my arm, the mind, I have sensations, right? And the mind so goes, oh yeah, the sensations are inside the arm, right? Because the bones, the nerve systems, the tissue, and the brain and everything. So I am inside my brain, which the brain is causing my awareness, obviously, right? And sensation are in the arm out there, right? But if I close my eyes, sensations still appear, right? So what is the proof that sensations are inside the arm, right? And then you can even look at your arm and you can feel sensation. You see that the actual direct experience of sensing does not match the exact image of is more like a cloud. It's not. I don't feel 5 fingers. I don't feel 5 fingers. I feel somehow there is some kind of localization in my experience that I feel sensing in some kind of cloud of sensations. There is no hand there. The mind is projecting is conceptualizing a hand. The perception is holding the memory of what is a hand, and the sensation is present there, vibrating. And those 3 layers are giving me this impression of a hand, a physical hand. So when you say a body, well, it's experience that is here.
But do we still keep on seeing that? Or once I guess that's already a different question. In other words, once we stop identifying or understand this, do we stop seeing bodies walking around, or no, we keep seeing it? We just...
Well, I still seeing body, so yeah, I still see body, but I think it's not one or the other. It's more about growing in sensitivity and in perception. It's like saying, I am don't know the name. I am my thumb, right? The thumb is a part of me, right? So, but it's not really what I am. But from our perspective, I can say I am my thumb. From another, the thumb is a part of what I am, but it's not what I am really. A part of it. It's yeah. Well, it's same with you. You just grow, and you start to see that I am everything that appear. So nothing has to change in experience to realize what I am. Like the lucid dream that was talking Gian, the dreams can still be there, and you can still start to feel more and more that you are the dreamer. So if you are the dreamer, if there is many people or there is no people, it doesn't change that it's a dream. It doesn't change your nature, it doesn't change anything. So in a way, it's this process is really about feeling more peace and more relaxed and more this ease of being, right? There's nothing asked of you, but to really see what you are. Just see what you are. You can still see people, you can still have pain. Yeah, it's more useful to really withdraw the meaning than to trying to change David's life. I have to become a guru. I have to feel no pain. I have to feel no emotion. I have to have a perfect life, whatever perfect life mean to me, to the character. No, leave that. Just see that. What is really useful is really to say this doesn't mean anything. And that's that's a very powerful mantra.
Sorry, to see that what?
To see that whatever it's appearing doesn't mean anything in relationship to what you are.
I mean, unless you are a criminal or something, you know?
But that's what I mean. There is no criminal.
Like if you're a bad person, doesn't that reflect on who you are?
The person is a thought. The good and bad is it's manufacture of thought. There is no good or bad. I don't see, you have no camera, so I don't know if you're in shock or if it makes sense.
I'm just trying to just think like, what are you talking about? Like, you know.
Okay. Do you have dreams sometimes?
Not so much.
Do you remember one time that you had a dream, any kind of dream, even if it's just one banana floating,
Yeah.
passing by? Yeah, okay. Imagine that you go to bed tonight and you dream about Roger, which is killing okay. Roger is killing someone, okay? And you dream that. When you woke up in the morning, you remember the dream. Oh yeah, I dreamt that Roger killed someone. Who is guilty? And who died?
Nothing and no one. Nothing happened really, but
This but, that's the identification, that's the separation. And the awakening process, the awakening is to live in that perspective. Sorry, right? There, no one died. You can't kill anyone because no one can die. So there is no victim, there's no killer. There is only.
so there is
this
apparent
shining
suffering,
forth.
but the only cure of it is to wake up and realize it's a dream. In other words, like if Hitler was to wake up, would he have an obligation to kill himself? Or you're saying it doesn't matter, that doesn't solve anything. We just all have to wake up.
Ah,
The-
the
the
killer.
thought- the thought is
That's the
probably-
first one that I have the killer, the Hitler one. That's the first one that.
I hope in the future it's gonna be replaced by Putin or something else. You know, Hitler. It's always Hitler. Why?
Well,
No, but when she's thought, it's probably like a functional truth. It's ultimately true what you're saying, but it doesn't work in the world. You can't function like not knowing. Like people have to take responsibility, like not feeling guilty, but at least they're responsible for what the body mind does, right? Otherwise, it just doesn't function. Nothing could function in society.
that's where we can make different concessions constantly, but the one that I'm pointing to right now that I think can be supportive. Hitler is a thought. The person, when you say Hitler right now, it's a thought in your mind. It's a memory from the past that you are holding in your mind. Right now.
Okay.
So all of the emotion, and when you say Hitler, it's probably because you feel something. You feel anger, you feel rage, because He's a representation of something that you feel. So it's easier that way because you say, yeah, because Hitler, because of this person out there that I feel this. He is the responsible of my rage, of my fear, of everything. But right now there's no Hitler, and you brought Hitler here. You literally invite Hitler in our experience right now. So why? There is no need of that.
So if Tammy does bad things, what is my responsibility about that?
Okay. Who is the one judging the behavior of Tammy?
I don't know.
Well, that's
Is
an
it
interesting
Tammy or is it
question,
awareness?
isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the way that you start to explore experience. You take nothing for granted.
Mm-hmm.
Who is the one judging experience? If Tammy is a thought, which is the person is a thought, who is the one judging experience? Who is the one saying it's good or bad?
It's a thought of when pain arises that it's bad. So
you feel pain right now?
I do.
Okay. And there is any emotion about that?
Right now I'm more focused on this, but when I think about it, oh yes, I can start to cry and get very despaired, and will it ever go? And what did I do wrong? I mean, it's never ending. The thoughts about it, the emotions
You
about it.
see, yeah, but you see, you're not talking about the pain. You are talking about suffering. You're talking about thoughts now.
Mm-hmm.
What I did do wrong, but it has nothing to do with about the pain. I'm talking, do you feel pain? You say yes. And then you're talking about thoughts.
Because I'm trying to stop it. I'm trying to figure out how to stop the pain.
Yeah, but this is the nature of thought, which is not clear to you. Thought is suffering, literally, in a way. Because you put everything on time.
Mm-hmm.
So the more you have the ability to be with the pain as it is in the moment, more you will see that, in fact, pain is not pain. Pain it's a very intense sensation. And we have to be able to be with that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a very interesting question, Tammy. Thank you.
Yeah,
We'll
just
slowly close. Yeah,
quickly
go
say
ahead,
something.
John.
I didn't say before, but it's very short. Like just maybe this image is helpful from Buddhism with the two arrows. I'm not the expert in that, but I think the Buddha basically said that there's this one arrow, which is like the sensation, for example, that's happening, right? I mean, literally think of the arrow that's hitting you. And then there is a second arrow, which we add, is basically the thoughts about it, how we feel, like how we dislike it, and so on. And I think what David was also saying before is basically saying that you can only remove the second arrow. Like the first arrow, you cannot do anything about it because it's just a sensation, but how you interpret it then can add additional psychological suffering on top of it. Yeah, I don't know if you heard about this image before, but for me, this was kind of helpful because, yeah, it shows that there is something that can be done and one has this urge to do something about it, right? But there's also a part which is just given because, yeah, that's life is giving you this moment basically, and you cannot do anything about it. It's it is what it is. But there's also a part which can be done, and I think this can be, or at least for me, it was soothing in some sense that there is something that can be done because, yeah, we all, in some sense, also want to do something. That's why we're here, I guess.
Yeah, that's interesting. David, do you agree with that? That there's nothing that can be done about the first arrow and that we do have choice about the second?
Well, he's like, I heard that with that sentence, like pain is unavoidable, suffering is,
Mhm.
which I think when suffering kind of vanish, you find yourself exploring the first layer. You start to explore thoughts, which is time, identity, and control. And when this start to be clear, you start to explore the emotional part. And when this start to be more clear, you start to enter into the exploration of sensing and perception. And you start to dissolve this separation between the sense of separation between objects, between people, between the solidity. You start to dissolve the solidity of the body and the sense of space, and you start to have fun with that. And that's where you start to explore pain in a completely different way. And the more sensitivity you have, the less you feel pain. Not because there is no pain. The same amount of sensation is present, the same intensity, but it's just like your sensitivity is bigger. That's the way you can approach it. It's not that the sensation disappear. It's like the way you approach the field of sensing is more mature, is more refined, and you can hold more in it. So the pain, the sensation, an intensity in sensation that felt unbearable at the beginning, at some point it felt like it's present, but yeah, there's many things present, and I can feel this and still feel this. Yeah, and everyone has different levels because everyone work on different things, and there is the fact that you can be with higher intensity of pain doesn't mean anything. Again, don't it's not a goal. And I'm not saying that I can burn myself or I can do fucker thing. No, the people who can do crazy things. I'm just it's pointing toward this sensitivity, the capacity to engage with your experience in a sensitivity with sensitivity. And the more you do this, the less you feel suffering, the less you feel separation, the less you feel pain, and the less you feel that human experience is a challenge in
That sounds
different
good.
ways.
And do we have 5 more minutes, David? I know you wanted to close the call.
Tell me what? It's so much difficulty to close. I try, but tell me.
Yeah, I just wanted to add share my personal experience with that because yeah, maybe that's helpful. That's what I hope. So I had some let's say nerve irritation that was causing me like a lot of pain. It was on my back, and yeah, many things, let's say, I've theorized about before how to deal with became somehow practically relevant, like about this what we're talking. And one thing, let's say, I wanted to share is because maybe you haven't tried this, like, and somehow this helped me, I guess, to, like what David said, to really become sensitive. And this, like, in concrete, this means for me, I was really questioning, like, what is this feeling like? I mean, I call it like feeling or pain, but this is just the concept. So one layer deeper, I started to look like, how can I somehow describe it more clearly? Is it like, I don't know, like a vibration? Is it pressure? Is it, I don't know, do I associate some color with it? Somehow, I don't know, somehow going deeper into the sensation. Is it like flickering? Is it like slowly like wobbling or something, like really go into detail into that, like what is it? And while doing that, I also realized that it's a lot about, there's this general fear about looking into this pain. And this helped me also overcome it because I was going from a distance, let's say, okay, first step is just like going one layer deeper into describing it. And okay, this feels safe, like going one layer deeper, describing it, still feels safe. And you go deeper and deeper and you realize in that very moment when you're like really sensitive, like David said, it's just one sensation, like one perception, like anything else, basically. It's just, yeah, because there's always just one moment, right? I mean, if you divide, I don't know, a moment, if you think of a moment as a second, you divide it by 10, okay, you can feel maybe 10 things in that, like being very practical now. Or if you then become more sensitive, you can divide 1 second into 100 sensations, just like throwing out the numbers. And in some sense, then there's nothing but this one thing that you sense in that moment, and then somehow it became less scary. I mean, and also over time, this somehow leads, I don't know, it sinks in, the body does this, body mind does it by itself, and it's then somehow less scared. And when this same pain comes and does some automatic thing, and also it helped me. Second thing quickly is because we said the like somehow pain is some form of contraction. And also you said that, Tammy, I think like it feels very contracted. And David said like becoming more or waking up, like expanding. For me, it actually helped realizing that this sensation, this pain, this feeling of contraction is also just a concept in some sense. If I feel the sensation as becoming like the only thing that's currently there, then it becomes very expansive. I realized I cannot find the boundary of the sensation in some sense, right? So it expanded to infinity. And in that way, already this gives some, also gave me some relief that seeing that this contraction is maybe some conditioned reaction. But if I really look into it, it's like very expansive. I mean, the pain is like, if I look into it, it's here, actually it's here, it becomes broader and broader. And actually there's no way to find any like center of it, any boundary and so on. And in that sense, yeah, that's a natural way of feeling relief, I guess, contrary to this contraction. Yeah, I just wanted to share quickly these two things because I figured maybe this helps because it helped me.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you, Jan. Yeah, you see, Tammy, that what we are speaking now about sensation and pain is very different than what we speak in the beginning. So you see, depending on where you are and what is the actual struggle for you specifically, there is a very specific sensitivity that you can engage in and you can be with. And what said Gian, it's beautiful that's a way you can really explore the field of sensing. And that's why in the course that I propose, I offer this exploration after exploring thought. Why? Because thought put everything in time. So like you said, John, right? It put this pain in time. So it will put pain in the future, pain in the past, and then it will feel more intense. It will be more difficult to explore. But when you see that there is only this present moment, and this present moment is eternity, you can really, like say, Jan, like zoom in, right? You can say, I'm just zooming on this and pain right now. I'm not zooming into the pain in the future, my day, not just exploring this, dive in. And that's the boundlessness of experience. Experience don't have boundary of any kind.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. It was a great pleasure to have you. And thank you for your sharing, for your question. Have a great time with all of you, always. I'm very happy that you are here because it makes this moment possible. So I really appreciate your presence and your authenticity also. And
Night,
hope to
everyone.
see you next week. Okay, have a good day or night wherever you are. Bye.
Thank you,
You
David.
too. Thanks,
Thanks so much.
everyone.
David and everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.